What's up guys, it's Kristen here today with the Try a Chapter Tag, but a Classics edition. I'm sure most of you know by now the Try a Chapter Tag, where you read the first chapter of 5 different books and then decide from there which one you want to read first. It'd be fun though to do it very genre specific, and I do hope to do more of these in the future, so if you have any genres that you really want me to try out, please leave them in the comments down below. I thought I'd start off with classics, even though I wouldn't say they're necessarily the best geared towards this kind of tag, but I love classics so much. That being said, I definitely did not read as many classics as I would have liked to in 2016. I find sometimes I need a little bit of a push to pick them up. There are several classics that I 100% want to get to this year, like Bleak House and Crime and Punishment and Giovanni's Room. So these ones that I chose are more the ones that I'm a little bit on the fence about. So let's get into the 5 books that I'll be reading. First off, I have The Trial by Franz Kafka. I have never read any Kafka. Obviously he is most known for Metamorphosis, but this one just sounded so interesting. Reading the premise, it says it is the terrifying tale of Joseph K., a respectable bank officer who is suddenly and inexplicably arrested and must defend himself against a charge about which he can get no information. This sounds so intriguing. Next up I have Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad, this tiny little thing, but people just rave about this one. Then I have Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert. This is probably the classic that I've been meaning to read for the longest time. I remember in high school saying that I was going to read it. Clearly that never happened, and pretty much all I know about this story is that it is about a woman who has an affair. Then I want to try out Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, of course a very beloved classic. The only other Dickens that I have read was A Tale of Two Cities that I read way back in high school, and I did not enjoy it. Suffice it to say that I have not read any of his works since. I've heard a lot of people say that that is not one of his better books, so I really do want to give him another shot this year. And last but not least, I have A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. This is the only book that I actually own. The rest of them I just got from the library, so eventually I'm gonna have to get to it. So I think I'm gonna start with A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, simply because it's sitting on top, and I will come back with my thoughts on that. So I just read the first chapter of A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, and it is set in 1912 following a young 11-year-old girl named Francie, and the first chapter was basically just her day on an ordinary Saturday in Brooklyn. And there was a lot of talk though about the tensions between the Christians and the Jews. The chapter ended off with her about to go to the library, which she says is her favorite part of the day. Very beautifully written, and there's a lot of descriptions that is nice because it gives you the feel for New York at the time. But I can't say I was completely hooked by this first chapter, so this is like a maybe. Now I guess I will move on to Great Expectations. I think the first chapter is only a few pages for this one. Well, that was pretty quick because the first chapter was only 5 or 6 pages, but I really like this. This was definitely more of an attention-grabbing first chapter where you meet young Pip, and he is in a graveyard looking at his parents' grave. This super creepy old man comes up and starts threatening to kill him, or that he's protecting him from someone else who will kill him. Very intrigued. This one's definitely gonna be a front runner. And now for Mr. Flaubert and Madame Bovary. This is another one that the first chapter is not too long. I think it's about 8 pages. I always feel so guilty that I don't read these introductions, but does anyone else? Because I feel like they usually give away the story, so it's only if I really liked the novel that I will go back and read the introduction after I'm finished. This edition was translated from French by Jeffrey Wall. So the first chapter of Madame Bovary kind of interesting, not what I expected, because it's all about Charles Bovary, I assume her husband, And it kind of just briefly goes over his whole life growing up and what his parents were like. Kind of gets shoved into this marriage with this woman that he just has zero interest in. Paints her as this boring, needy person. So I'm really intrigued to see how the story flips around her perspective. I'd say this is definitely another maybe. For my second to last book, I'm going to try out The Trial by Kafka. This edition was translated by Brayon Mitchell. This is one that I definitely do want to read the translator's preface afterwards. First chapter is 16 pages, so I really liked this first chapter of The Trial. It follows a man named Joseph K, and he wakes up one morning and there are these guards in his house, and they tell him that he is being arrested, but that they have no idea why, and they've never been given that information. Their only job is to tell him that he is being arrested. He doesn't really take it very seriously. He thinks like it might just be a joke, or he tells him that even though he has been arrested, he is free to go about his day and go to work and everything like that, but I guess a trial will come eventually. So it's just incredibly bizarre, feels like you're reading a weird dream sequence, and it seems like it's going to be an excellent satire on the judicial system and bureaucracy. This one is definitely the frontrunner at the moment. And so for the last book, Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad, I honestly don't really know anything about this book, weirdly enough, but the first chapter is really long, even though it's such a tiny book. It's 38 pages. I feel like I will practically have read half the novel, so I'm gonna take a break here and come back a little later to read this. And we're back several hours later, so I apologize. The lighting probably looks totally different now. And I decided I didn't want to read the entire first chapter because, again, like I said, it was like 40 pages, so I decided to only read the first 10 pages, and honestly, not a fan. I don't know if I'm just like in a weird mental state right now and I can't concentrate on it, but even for those 10 pages, I found myself just like tuning everything out. Definitely felt like the densest of the 5 books. It's about some sailors talking about living life on the sea. For sure, it is a great book, but right now it's just not appealing to me. So of the 5 books, I think definitely the winner, so to speak, is The Trial by Kafka. Definitely caught my attention, and I just want to keep reading. I need to know what's going to happen at this trial. What did he get accused of? And the book in second place, again, I don't think it should be very surprising, would definitely be Great Expectations. I decide if I want to read Bleak House first or if I want to read this one. Any Dickens fans out there? I don't know. Does it really matter? Who knows? So that is it for this edition of Try a Chapter, and again, I would love to hear from you guys what genre you would like to see me do next, so please leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!